can't lie, the first season we done pretty good. We finished off 9-4 with a bowl victory, and we was able to progress our team, especially young players heading into second season. I wanted to change up our scheme heading into second season from a pass heavy offense to a pro style offense and a 3-4 aggressive defense to a 4-3 zone. Now, you guys see how we develop our coach over time. He was a great coach that I picked from that I thought would have been a huge help heading into especially second season and as well developing a rebuild dynasty team. So I was fortunate enough to find a very decent coach with these type of ratings that I was able to boost throughout the season, and it was a big help because I kind of partially simulated part of the recruiting, and I kind of nitpicked then and there trying to get used to the recruiting as well. But at the end, we was able to really pull some top recruits, like the number one top prospect, which was also the number one outside linebacker. That's going to be a big help containing the outside runs, which we was getting killed by throughout the season, especially against top teams. So not only that, we also was able to, have kind of like a easier chance to recruit in a way, but recruiting is still difficult. It's still not easy, but depending on how you go about it and take the time to do so, it will pay off. But it's not no easy task. Don't think that you can just get by and pull any recruit that you want. Which for myself, I'm still, practicing and learning how to recruit. You guys going to see that later on in today's video as we continue the off season, which is pretty basic and simple. You also have a chance to take a look at the recruits coming out of high school with the MCAA, which is the Maximum College Athletic Association. You can simply play this game or spectate it. As you guys see, the East High School All-Stars and the West High School All-Stars, pretty balanced teams. And I think this is really cool that you're able to see, the top recruits coming out of high school and see who is actually good, who's actually not. And it's a great way heading into, the next season, trying to figure out what players you should pick and to see if you should really focus on these players that do stand out in the game, by either playing or spectating. I like to spectate because it gives you more of an idea, scouting wise, to pretty much see who's actually good. Just seeing the CPU play each other, because you can actually see somebody stand out compared to playing. I mean, you kind of get a better idea of how the players play, but you know, it's kind of 50-50 on both ends. You get a positive and a negative from either playing or spectating. So, like, as I spectated this match, I noticed that the East team, the blue team, the quarterback wasn't, the greatest, as you guys will see the highlights throughout this match. Like, his awareness to place passes or read the defense, it wasn't the greatest. Um, the West had, a great quarterback that was throwing dimes. As you guys see, he throws a dot to the tight end. Both teams had great tight ends. Um, the West had great linebacking core, especially when it came to blitzing and defensive end pass rushers. As for the East, they was great at, run stuffing. They had great interior linemen. So this is a great way, especially like I said, for scouting. So this was a better option for me to kind of see what they had to offer, who's going to be the top players coming out of this um, high school all-star game. But overall, this is just a great experience, something that literally we don't ever see with Madden college football because you're unable to see how the players play. I think the last time I can recall something kind of like this is where Madden had a um, college football, I guess, all-star game, but that was in the PS2 era, which a lot of this current generation never experienced. And I forgot what year it was. I think it was like 08, 09, but it was great that they had that. this is kind of like similar in a way to having that, but this is for, you know, college aspect. But this is really cool that you're able to have this experience in this game to witness, top prospects. So, um, you guys going to see the recruiting process as well, like I said. But in this game alone, you guys have noticed that, as well, the East didn't have a great kicker. He missed a lot of field goals and extra points. Like you guys see right here, he's going to end up missing it, but he does have a leg. That's another thing to take into consideration. Um, the receiver slash punt returner, kick returner for the West team, number 81. He looked like a standout player as he made plays on special teams, made some decent catches. Um, and then as well for the East team, number one was their receiver slash special teams player. He made some decent plays throughout this game. So as well for running backs, the West, the running back wasn't the greatest. He did get stuffed a lot as the East had a great run stuffing defense, but the East they had a pretty damn good running back. Like I said, these highlights present these certain individual players very well, and it really helps out the scouting report when you take into consideration about recruiting. And then when it comes to recruiting, you also have to focus on your team needs, player positions, like what you lack in, especially if you have players leaving. Like from last year to this year, I lost a lot of top end players due to graduation, and I was fortunate enough to have young players that was decently good, and I was able to continue to build them up. As you guys see, I got 5,000 XP from completing a season, and you get a preseason report, so you get a view of upcoming depth chart that's recommended for these players to start, which is automatically already set for you, but you can adjust it to your liking as well. You also get players that you should potentially cut from your team, as well the players that are young players that are proposed players to be redshirted. So it's players that may maintain that position category, or players that can be standout and future players that can be upgraded through time to really help out your team in the future. So I like this preseason report. It gives you a better insight on your team and what you need to kind of focus on and what to do and what they prefer you to do. So to me, I feel like this is a really cool concept idea, and it's something completely new, something that we never seen before, and this is just awesome that they have this implemented in the Dynasty mode. Now, they have one of the players that I did focus on, especially catching wise, like near the end of the season, was number 7, which was Hatcher. They wanted me to cut him, so you guys see Michael Hatcher right here, number 7. Um, it sucks that this was a recommended player, but I do realize that I did spend a lot on a kind of trash player to get him up to par. And even though he started performing much better at the end of the season, he still wasn't the greatest. And I know that it's going to take a lot more XP to spend on him. So I kind of understand why this was a recommended player to cut. So I ended up cutting him from the team because I do have other players that can be potential um, better receivers and easier players to upgrade over time just because they have certain ratings that's already high, and it takes less XP to boost other certain ratings. So that's another thing to take into consideration when you're upgrading players. So, talking about upgrading players, I'm still focusing on my standout freshman running back that pretty much carried us last season, as now he's a sophomore, trying to boost up a little bit ratings based off the amount of XP that I currently have now. Another thing during the off season, so you got the high school all-star game, and then you got the drills that you can play from. Now, I didn't do the drills, but I believe the drills is just pretty much like learning the game. It's not really anything that can help you get more XP, but once again, I didn't really try it because it looked like it was just, practicing learning the controls and different things for the game. So that's why I never went into it, but I could be wrong. It could have been drills that could have gave you XP. Now we're taking a look at the top 25 ranking teams. The Generals, they went undefeated last season. They're still number one heading to second season. And we was shockingly ranked at number 17. So that's a big plus. We still have a decent team to work with. And to see us ranked that high, that's a big plus. We just got to see how we do heading into second season after boosting the young players and getting some decent top recruits and changing up our scheme based off our scheme development from last season. We kind of focus kind of like a balance passing and offense, but our goal was pretty much running the ball and it showcased. So changing up the scheme is going to have a big factor. I just want to see how we do. So you guys take a look at our team needs. We pretty much just need one defensive end. Like I said, rebuilding this team, I was pretty fortunate to have a young team that's decently good and I can develop over time. But we also had some seniors that was very dominant, and unfortunately, they end up graduating or leaving. So it's kind of sad that we lost those players. But you guys take a look at the top recruits. The top player in the nation is a center. The second best player is the cornerback, and then another center. So, um, taking a look at our centers, we had a lot of players that's going to end up leaving for our center position. So, uh, we went ahead and picked them up. But we also kind of just focus on the top 10 players. I wanted to see another different recruiting method that can go about. So, like in the past, with like college football, I always pick like the top 10 players and try to recruit them. But like I said, it's not as easy as it is in recruiting wise when it comes to this game into comparison to college football. So it's kind of like the same with 25, where you pick players based off their interests. It makes it much more easier if they're already like partially interested in your school, because when you try to motivate them, you're going to get a higher chance of influencing them for the interests to your school in comparison to the top players, which for this game, you have to spend a lot more points over time to get these players, which I'm about to showcase to you guys. And this was just a different route that I was doing just to test certain things and see how it works. And like I said, I'm still learning at this point. So that's what I did. I picked a lot of the top 10, basically a bunch of top 100 players for each position. And try to see if I can motivate them or persuade them to my school. And you guys going to see how I persuaded some, like the top center in the nation, the top player that is. I got a little bit interest from him, which you guys see on the right. But some players, they won't even be interested in your school, and like I said, they don't even budge once you try to influence them. But then you also have to take in consideration when you do the scouting, unlock the ratings. Um, that's a big thing that you want to look at, not just if they're interested or not. So, like you guys see, the rank 14 cornerback has a 99 speed, and then I had another cornerback that didn't have any speed, but he had like decent other important attributes, which you guys are going to see right here, as well with the receivers. Um, this guy has a 96 speed rating, as the other receiver has a 77 speed rating, but one of the other has like better attributes for catching, route running, and the other doesn't. So like the speedster didn't have the greatest catching, but it was decent enough. And then the slower receiver had better catching. So it's all based off archetypes. And that's another thing to really take into consideration when you're wanting to look at these players. You want to look at certain attributes, and then based off the ratings, it may be easier to get certain players with decent ratings because the XP amount that it takes. So there's a lot of factors, and that's why it's time consuming that you have to take your time when recruiting. You can't just I mean, you can recruit anybody, but it's about how difficult it may be and how easy it can be, depending on what you're going for, and then also position needs and uh, just the rating. So there's a lot to really intake when it comes to recruiting. As well, like I said, this was testing. I spent a lot of my prestige recruiting points into unlocking ratings while I was like picking certain players, and then you get most of your points taken away when you're trying to influence. So that's another thing that I forgot to take into consideration when going about this. So pretty much the off season is straightforward. It's simple. You get the high school all-star game, you get the drills, and then you just hit the advance and you're automatically into next season, which I like. There's no waiting, there's no loading. It's like straightforward. It's quick and easy and simple. So, next video is going to be kicking off our first match heading into our next season. Hopefully, we can go all the way and go the distance and just see how, coming from first to second season, especially with the young players, see how the development process worked out for them and see if they're actually much better. And also the recruiting. Hopefully, the recruits help out this team much more. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. See you guys in the next one, and I'm out. Peace.